in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another one of our Ask the Experts webinar series. My name is Richard Kaur. I'm with WorkSource Atlanta Regional, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We have a really good program planned for you. Today's topic explores job search tips for older adults. And I'm particularly excited about this one because today's webinar is a joint effort between the Workforce Division that I work for and Empowerline, which is another brand under the ARC umbrella. So what exactly is Empowerline? Well, Empowerline is a part of Georgia's Aging and Disability Resource Connection Network, and that is ADRC for short. Simply put, Empowerline is a part of a nationwide effort to connect people to the right services. So if you are an older worker or an older adult rather, living in Georgia, or if you're an individual with a disability, Empowerline is there to help you. For more information, please visit their website at www.empowerline.org. I can tell you that they have a really excellent team that is very passionate about helping others. So if you need some assistance, please feel free to give them a call. You're going to be in good hands. And again, the website is www.empowerline.org. All right, before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to take care of some housekeeping. First off, this is a live webinar. It's a live webinar and it is being recorded. All your microphones have been muted, but we encourage you to ask questions. If you do have any questions at any time, please feel free to type them in the chat box. We have allotted some Q&A time at the end of the presentation for our experts to answer those questions. Also, we would like to remind you that while WorkSource Atlanta Regional's Career Resource Centers are temporarily closed to foot traffic, we're still open to virtual traffic. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that you can still access our career counselors via phone and email. It also means that if you ever need assistance related to employment or training, if you'd like to know if you qualify for grants that can pay for tuition or other related expenses, please feel free to contact us. This is our job. We are here to help you. And the best way to get in touch is by visiting our website at www.atlworks.org. That's www.atlworks.org. And guess what? The services that we provide will cost you nothing. They're absolutely free to you. We're a federally funded program, and this is your tax dollars at work. So if you need any assistance, there's really no excuse not to reach out to us. Okay, before I introduce the panel of experts, I would like to share this graph with you because I believe it highlights why information sessions like these are critically important. On the screen, I have up a chart from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and it shows the civilian labor force participation by age group. And by participation rate, we're talking about persons who are working or actively seeking work. Now, if you take a look at the top of the screen, this blue line here, that represents the participation rate in 1996. The line below it represents 2006. The green bar right here represents 2016, and the orange bar represents the projected figures for the labor force participation rate in the future in 2026. Now, if you look closely, you will realize that the participation rate for workers in the younger years are decreasing. And you can tell by the graph, the bars going down. And it's the same here for the 16 to 19 age group. It is decreasing. Conversely, if you take a look at the older groups, they're telling a different story. That data is telling a different story. You'll see that it is increasing. The participation rate of these workers are increasing. If you take a look at the 65 to 74, you can also see that range increasing as well. It is also the same for the 75 and older group. Now, if you are like me and you rather look at numbers, this is the same graph just represented numerically. In 1996, if you look at the total 16 years and older group, it was 66.8. By 2016, it was 62.8, and it's projected in 2026 to be 61%. The 20 to 24 range started out in 1996 at 76%. It is projected to be 68% by 2026. So you can also notice a clear decline there. Now, when you look at the age group, the 65 to 74 age group, you'll see that in 1996, they had a participation rate of 17.5, and that has been going up over the years and is projected to be 30.2% by 2026. So that's a sizable jump. That is almost twice the percentage range by 2026. And also for the adults that are 75 and older, you can see 1996, they were at a participation rate of 4.7, and they're projected to be 10.8 by 2026. So that is more than doubled the participation rate for that age group. So I'm saying this because if you're an older worker listening in to this webinar, I want you to find solace in the fact that you're not alone, that you're just part of a larger trend of older workers staying longer or re-entering the workforce. And also, if you're an older worker and you find it difficult to navigate the job search space, I also want you to know that help is here. If you follow the tips that we're going to give you, it'll make your transition that much easier. I think that's a really nice segue into introducing our panelist. We've been very fortunate to have three well-informed experts on the panel today. They're all from In the Door, and In the Door is a workforce and economic development organization, and they're going to cover a variety of topics, including resume tips, strategies to overcome ageism, and that's a big one that has been a complaint for many older workers. They're going to also talk about scams to avoid, and they're going to discuss a bunch of different resources for you to have that is going to help you on your job search. So just grab your pen and paper and take notes where you can. Roberta Hall, she is the regional manager, and she has over 20 years of workforce development experience, and she has held various leadership roles throughout her career. Paul Allen and Russell Hall are one-stop operators. They work closely with local businesses, community partners, and job seekers like yourself to address the growing skills gap. The entire In the Door team was highly recommended for their knowledge and expertise in the subject area. And we're very happy. We're happy that they took the time out of their busy schedule to join us today. So I want to say thank you guys for doing that. Thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to turn the reins over to our first speaker, Russell Hall. Russell, the floor is yours.
Difficulties, but we're going to move forward. We are going to ensure that you still get that really good information that you need. So again, Richard, really do appreciate all your hard work and all your efforts to get everything running smoothly. And I thank those individuals at WorkSource Regional Commission. Again, my name is Russell Hall. I am the one-stop operator within the door, and I serve as one-stop operator for the city of Atlanta. So many of the things that Richard spoke about in terms of funding for training, we offer those same types of things for the residents of the city of Atlanta. So I have my contact information up here, and again, we'll make sure we get that in the chat. You can give me a call, shoot me an email if you want to talk a little bit more about some resume tips and interviewing skills, or if you have some general questions about funding for training, we can definitely help you out with that. So we're going to talk a little bit about today creating that winning resume. So I'd like to ask, what is a resume? Well, according to the dictionary, it's a short account of one's career and qualifications, a short document describing your education, work history, etc. So again, you have a wealth of experience as an older worker, but sometimes age may not seem as an advantage when you're job searching, especially in a competitive market. Hiring managers can view older workers sometimes as more expensive to hire, sometimes as having outdated experience or too much experience, or not being current with today's technology and workplaces, even though it is illegal to discriminate based on age. So what do? One way to overcome that is to age-proof and carefully edit the resume. So again, you have your resumes, and then of course you have your CV. So your resume isn't your CV. A CV is a curriculum vitae, and really based on all the things that you've done throughout your career. So if you're in executive leadership or in higher education, many of those times you want a CV, but for the purposes of this presentation, we'll just talk about your resume, and everything doesn't necessarily have to be included in your resume. So what do we include in that resume? Well, you want to include your personal information. Obviously, the employer or hiring manager needs to have a way to contact you. We want to ensure that you have relevant work experience. Talk about some of those hard and soft skills that you have, and we'll talk about some of those a little bit later. Education, any licenses and awards you've received, and some volunteer work. So let's talk about personal contact information. If you see here, one of the things that I would say nowadays that I would leave off your resume is your mailing address. I would put your name and your location. So if you want to put Atlanta, Georgia, or Metro Atlanta, I would use that. Telephone number. Now this needs to be a really good telephone number that you are going to contact or get back with someone on. So if you have a landline that you haven't answered in a few years, typically I would leave those off and include your cell phone, a really good contact number for them, employer, to contact you with, and of course your email address. Now, one of the optional things that I would recommend would be a LinkedIn account. So LinkedIn is a social media platform really based on employment. So you have the ability to network, you have the ability to take certain certifications and classes on there, and really get to know people on a business level. So Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, all of those social media accounts that typically lean toward things about fun or religion or politics, I would stay away from in your resume. And lastly, with your email address, I would make sure that it is a professional email address. First name dot last name, or maybe first initial and last name. So you definitely want to have a very professional email account to put on your resume. As it relates to work experience, pretty standard here in terms of the employer name, the city and state, the job title, and the dates. Now, I would recommend that anything from a 10 to 15 year window, you would want to include that on your resume as it relates to relevant work experience. You can have other other work experience maybe at the bottom, but I would definitely want to include your most relevant or your most recent dates within that 10 to 15 year time frame here. And as you can see, if you look on the screen, you see these action words, direct and coordinate and oversee and determine. So you want to make sure, obviously, you talk in the third person in that with your most recent or current job that you are using your present tense. And then, of course, any jobs that you have showing that you've worked there in past tense in terms of provided or directed or examined or monitored. So again, with a lot of people in the workforce, hiring managers will be very selective. So, even down to the tense, present tense versus past tense, that could be a way to eliminate someone from potentially being a candidate. As we talk about hard skills and soft skills. So what exactly are hard skills? Hard skills are learned abilities acquired and enhanced through practice, repetition, and education. For example, many people have gone to school for accounting or bookkeeping or mathematics. So those would be looked at as hard skills. Many times the employer can teach you these hard skills. However, many of these hard skills are transferable skills as well. So those are some of the things that you would want to include in your resume. As it relates to soft skills, typically these soft skills will get you the job. How well you are able to adapt or communicate with someone, how well you can show empathy or your creativity level or your leadership or problem-solving work ethic. Many times, the employer can't really teach you these elements, these things that you have learned through education and through just overall experience. So again, the soft skills are the skills that get you to the job or get you in the job. And then, of course, those hard skills, many times employers will teach you that information. As it relates to education and continuing education, again, if you've been out of school or you graduated, again, 15, 20 years ago, you can include your school, your college, your post-secondary activity. I would recommend leaving the dates off. Again, you see here, Georgia Southwestern State University, Americus, Georgia, and then under that, you have the major or the degree in terms of, whether it's mathematics or this one here has Bachelor of Business Administration, Human Resource Management. So again, if you've graduated, over the, 10, 15 year time frame, I would leave the date off. You can also include relevant coursework. For example, maybe you went to college and you didn't graduate, or you failed a couple of courses or credits short of graduation. You can include that. And of course, I would include any relevant coursework on there as well. And since we're talking about some older workers, I would leave off high school dates as well. Another good thing to put on here, on your resume, rather, would be any licenses and certifications. Again, sometimes it may not necessarily be relevant, but it can have transferable skills on it. Now, I would be very careful in terms of licenses and certifications that are outdated as it relates to IT. And I know Ms. Roberta Hall will talk a little bit about that in terms of what hiring managers may look for on that. So if you have something like, Work Perfect or those type of certifications, make sure that your certifications and licenses are relevant and are up to date. This is a missing piece in terms of really showing employers that you're well-rounded. Any types of awards or recognition, I would definitely recommend you put this on your resume in terms of any awards of excellence that you've had at your job. If you were Employee of the Year, if you were top dog in real estate, if you were the salesperson of the month, if you helped reduce churn and received an award for that. Again, this is a great way to create that narrative showing that you are dedicated and that you are one of the top performers in your job. Professional and civic affiliations, again, I would add these if it is relevant to the job. Be mindful of the time frame. So if, again, anything past that 15 to 20-year mark, be very careful about those dates. If you serve on a board or any type of civic affiliation, such as a sorority or fraternity, and you've held a leadership position, I would definitely recommend including that along with that leadership position as well. And then one more thing that you would want to include in the resume is volunteer work. A lot of times, many employers have really good relationships with the different WorkSource boards and many of the volunteer and nonprofit agencies within our community. So they partner with them. So again, if you've served in any type of volunteer role or community activism or service role, definitely include that on your resume. One thing that I would err on the side of caution about is using acronyms. In this case, I would recommend just spelling the word out on the resume. So we'll take a pause here and just really talk about why you need a good resume. Again, creating that narrative, communicate your qualifications, and really creating your brand to show that prospective employer, to grab the attention of the recruiter or the hiring manager. Again, to show that you're a potential match for that position. So again, we want to edit and tailor that resume specific to that industry that you're applying for. And then of course, to communicate your current capabilities and future potential, whether through your objective or your summary within the very beginning of that resume. Next, we'll talk about some action verbs. Again, we want to ensure that you're using those action verbs to describe your job function and your role and responsibilities during that time. So if you see here on the screen, you have some action verbs for management skills, for communication, for research, for financial, creative, and other verbs as well. So we have things like conceptualized or clarified and coached if you worked in sales, facilitated, implemented if you were in leadership. So again, it is very important to use those action verbs. And once again, if it's a job that you're currently on, make sure you use present tense. And if those jobs that you had in the past, you ensure that you use those past tense. Again, those hiring managers can look at those and really weed out potential employees because of past tense. So let's talk about chronological resumes. Chronological resumes will really emphasize on your employment history. So again, if you have a current employment history, maybe you've been out of work maybe 1 or 2 years, and you've had a steady employment history, you may want to use a chronological resume. And this is best suited for those who have a solid work history, who have well-known or prestigious organization, and have a progressive track record. And we have here is a resume example of a chronological resume. And when we're going to send out some information, I'll ensure that I include a template for your chronological resume. So if you look at it, we talk about the job that one has in reverse chronological order, starting with the most recent job and then moving back. With this, I would recommend go back only to the last 10 to 15 years. Anything further than that, I would definitely err on the side of caution and leave off. Again, you want to make your resume as attractive as possible and really create that narrative for that potential employer. So next up is the functional resume. So this functional resume will emphasize on your skills and qualifications. So let's say one has been out of the workforce for quite some time and you're looking to get back into the workforce in maybe a different industry. So you want to highlight some of those hard skills that you have and some of those soft skills that can transfer to that new industry. So it may not necessarily correlate to the above specific employer, but again, you want to identify 2 to 4 skill categories and really have those things nailed down in terms of what you would like to include on your resume so you can talk about those things in the interview. So these are best suited for career changes, recent graduates or minimum work experience for those, again, re-entering the workforce. And if you take a look here, here's an example of one of our functional resumes. So we have education, and you can substitute your education at the top or the bottom, just depending on where you are in your educational level. Typically, if you are a newer graduate or recent graduate, I should say, I would have you highlight the education toward the top. If you've been out of school for 10 to 15 years, typically would have you shift that to the bottom and move your skills and abilities to the top. Again, with that functional resume, you're going to highlight those hard and soft skills. For example, here we talk about management, we talk about sales, communication, and leadership. So this is a good time to really find out what those skills you have are and how you can communicate that on the resume. So last couple of slides, some of the things to leave out of your resume. We definitely want to leave out your social security number. Definitely don't want to have that, or your age, your marital status, children, religion, political affiliations, criminal history, and of course, we don't want to include any type of salary information. And unless you have a resume that's for modeling or graphic design, you want to leave your photo out of it. Now, if you look at these things to leave out of your resume, many of these things in terms of age, marital status, children, religion, political issues, those things are not allowed to be asked in an interview. So if they're not allowed to be asked in the interview, you don't want to include it on your resume. And lastly, just to recap and review, limit your related work experience. Again, 10 to 15 years, whether it's from a chronological perspective, it can definitely help job seekers to avoid that stigma of being considered too old. Drop your other experience that's not relevant to what you are looking for. Don't include education or training dates, again, if it's past that 10 to 15 years. Highlight your skills, those soft skills, those hard skills, those transferable skills. And again, have someone to look at your resume. Again, we can do that here at WorkSource, or if you wanted to hire a professional to edit or polish your resume, you can do that as well. And then, of course, be prepared to email your resume. If you have had some challenges with emails, or you need to have them create a new email address, you want to ensure that you do that beforehand, before you create that new resume. And with that said, I do appreciate your time. Again, my name is Russell Hall. I'm one-stop operator for In the Door, serving in that role for City of Atlanta. So if you're a resident of the City of Atlanta and you need some additional support with your resume or interviewing skills, or just need some additional support with funding for school or job search assistance, you can definitely give us a call or an email, and we will be more than happy to help you. And with that said, I will turn it over to Ms. Roberta Hall. Ms. Roberta.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roberta Hall. I'm the regional manager with In the Door. Today, we are going to talk about the mature workforce. Topics I'll be covering is your job search tips for older workers, what scams to avoid, and then ageism. How do we overcome it? So here are a couple of things, and you may hear some of these things repeated, but we cannot have enough positive reinforcement in this effort, because finding a job is a job. So some of the things that we talk about, and this is from information that's recently been researched, is that there is such a thing called an ageless resume. The first topic they talked about, of course, is to make everything front and center. I know my colleague, Mr. Hall, shared about making certain that there are certain things that stand out, And again, we cannot place an emphasis enough on this. In staffing, I've spent the last 6 years in staffing, and that is one of the things that our clients tell us. They don't have the bandwidth to hire enough people to really review all of the resumes that come through. So we did have to work with a lot of tools to try to give us an idea who has the best skill set for the most current role that has been advertised. So you want to make certain that those things stand out. We talked about making it 10 to 15 years, and this is of relevant experience. And there are ways that you can do that and have an award-winning type resume, because what you're doing at this stage in your life is that you're highlighting those things that are really important to the workforce. We talk about ageless dates, and that is key critical to leave some of those dates off. With my team and staffing, I used to have where I would say there is a nice to know and a need to know. Our clients really only had time for the need to know. So it is important that you are putting information on there that is not outdated technology, making certain that you avoid those graduation dates. And obviously anything that you're doing most current, you can add those dates, because that's going to let that client know that you have more so some current training. It could be a Microsoft Office Suite class that you just took, and if you put that date on that and that's 2020, that's an aha moment, because it is a likelihood that you were learning the latest version in that. Also, you want to invest time. This is key critical because, again, as I stated, finding a job is a job. You want to take the time to write a resume that's really customized to highlighting your experience, your specific job openings that you're applying for. And I certainly do recommend that you understand one resume does not fit out, which means that not only are you going to have to take time, but take a look at that job description before, and you need to tailor your resume accordingly. An example would be that our clients used to tell us if they have asked for Excel and the company set up Excel as maybe a buzzword and not Microsoft Office, or not Microsoft Office Suite. We know that is part of the suite, but they're looking for people that are tech savvy in Excel. So make certain that as you are reading that, if you see any software that is spelled out, make sure that you spell it out. Just don't assume that they're going to say because you knew Microsoft Suite, because there are filters out there that may only capture that word. And the unfortunate thing, we don't know what buzzwords that the companies use, but if it's important to them and it's in that job description, I can guarantee you that that buzzword will get your resume across. You want to highlight your skills that are most valuable and the ones that show comfortable with contemporary technology. That is key critical because, again, technology is fast moving. Things expire very quickly, so you do want to make certain that you are showing the comfort level with technology and promote the fact that you're up to date with it. You also want to critique your resume because obviously presentation matters. We get one time to make that first impression. So make sure that your resume is polished and well presented. This one here, again, we've got various versions. I certainly say functional resume will get that message across. Chronological can show obviously where you plan to go within the company, bring in those skill sets. So make sure that you're comfortable with both versions, and it's okay to have both and submit both. You want to seek help if you're not getting any response as you thought you would. Consider hiring a resume writer, or if you have great technical skills, you can also browse the sites. As you know, there's a wealth of information out there, and people are sharing on YouTube any type of tip that you can think of when it comes to helping. So if that is something that you're not doing, I would certainly recommend doing so. So one thing we talk about a mature worker also, we have to show that we are digitally relevant. And that, again, is making certain that we have done our homework and that we're looking for how to grow networks in this time of being digital. So there are a lot of platforms out there. The one that we speak highly of right now, because this is something that I think they set the tone of what they wanted to be presented as, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great resource and a great tool. So I certainly recommend that if you do not if you're not on LinkedIn, obviously that you get on LinkedIn, but you also want to make certain that you understand how LinkedIn works. There are a lot of algorithms, there are a lot of push feeds, and there are things that, again, to your advantage. And the more things you sign up for, the more information you're going to get. And information is powerful in this job search. What came up, and of course, as we are a mature workforce, they want to make certain that you pick a certain and clear headshot image. Those from 5-10 years ago, certainly not, but make certain that you do have an image it's current. Attend as many LinkedIn trainings as possible. Again, I cannot tell you how much information people are willing to give. And what's so important also about those trainings is that the employers are willing to come out on LinkedIn and give out some of that information as well. So that is a great resource and a great tool to spend some time on. And then, of course, ensure that you activate that you're open as a candidate, so that recruiters know that you're open to opportunities. They've got a new feature on there that automatically will draw the eye to a recruiter's attention that you are looking for employment. Now, the job search tips for a competitive edge. We talked about, Microsoft Office Suite. That is a great one. In staffing, as we negotiate contracts with our clients, we would find out what are some of the things that they would want to make certain that people had assessments on. Assessments are not going anywhere. It is kind of a deal breaker for a lot of companies. And within the Microsoft Office Suite, Excel and Microsoft Word is probably about 90% required for just getting your resume submitted to a client. So that is something I would recommend. If there are some free courses out there that you can take advantage of, please do so. Also, if there's something you feel good about in writing and sharing your story, there's opportunities of blogging. Talked about continuing ed workshops and courses. Lots of free classes out there right about now. And again, you want to make certain that you practice uploading your documents. I cannot tell you how that right there, we have seen in a portal where people have uploaded utility bills by accident. And so you never get called, although you may have completed an application, but be certain that you are comfortable with uploading documents, because that would help you obviously get contacted quick enough. There's just not enough manpower for even agencies to call back and say, hey, you uploaded a utility bill. You're just not going to get called. They're not going to see that resume in there. So be sure that you're comfortable with that. And then, of course, volunteering at organizations such as AARP. Those are some great organizations and partners to help continue to keep you in what's new and relevant in your job search. There's opportunities to attend some free Zoom or team webinars. Oftentimes, and under this COVID precaution, a lot of companies are using the virtual interview. So you do want to make certain that you're comfortable with that you've tested out your resources to make sure that you have the bandwidth that's needed, and then make certain that you're able to convey your message. You want to role play with mock interviews virtually. You can do that with friends or family. And also you might want to consider taking on a temporary part-time work. That would allow you to at least bring your resume current if there is a gap in employment. And there is value in that, because 9 times out of 10, you may learn a new skill that is more relevant to today and what employers are looking for. So it does help you to, of course, continue to build on that resume and keeping it current. Okay, now this is a scary one, and I am that person when it comes to avoiding anything within technology, because we know that those scams out there are real. Emailing job offers that's supposedly from an employer, that tends to be a really big thing. At the bottom of this, I have which came from the Better Business Bureau, that talked about that it's been a good couple of years for scammers. Employment scams were rated the riskiest in 2019. Victims of such scams reported an average loss of $3,000, not to mention damages in credit score. So this is something that you definitely want to make certain that you do as much time in educating yourself on how to identify some of those. If you are browsing some websites of employers, or if you see something out there and it just sounds too good to be true, 9 times out of 10, it may be. I would highly recommend that you go out there and maybe look at the website of that employer. Check for the lock in key in that browser to make certain that it is a secured website. If you don't have the software that tells you, you definitely want to see if that is an option, or maybe go to a location that does have more of a secure firewall so that you can browse comfortably in that. But you do have to make certain that you are taking time out to understand what those scams could look like. They have fake jobs on social medias. Some people will absolutely use a company's name and post some of the fake jobs. So again, if it does sound too good to be true, go to the employer's actual website and just do some looking around there. We should always be doing that in our job search anyway. Again, when it comes to the fake employer websites and fake recruiters, sometimes the recruiters will tell you that there is a cost for the job. That I can guarantee you probably is a fake job. You should not have to pay when looking for a job, or even through any agency. That is something that is negotiated on the front end with the client. So be careful, look for those things. Okay, now this is a big elephant in the room. Ageism. It even sounds awful. And how do we overcome it? By definition, ageism says that it's prejudice or discrimination on the grounds of a person's age. It also stated under Wikipedia that ageism in recruitment is an increasing problem. Well, I'm here today to share with you that even though it's stated there, it's not as bad as we think it. Applying some of these tips that we are sharing, we can certainly overcome it. But one way that we can think about it and look at it different and overcoming it is by changing the narrative. So I thought about when asked to be on this panel, and obviously being in this group as well, you know, when I hear something negative, I'm immediately thinking of the positive out of it. So what I've done is I've taken the word ageism and I've given it, it's an acronym, because I want you to really feel comfortable in knowing that how valuable you are to the workforce. I spent the last 20 years in workforce development, and in staffing, we never see age unless you let it be known. So if we change the narrative, ageism may sound something like this by definition: that you are a guaranteed employment investment. Hear me out. You are a guaranteed employment investment symbolizing maturity. And every company appreciates that and is looking for you to join their workforce. But let's talk about how we overcome it. So one of the things you want to make certain of is that you are proud and confident of your institutional knowledge. That can be from education, PK, post-secondary, but you're confident in it. And part of the confidence means that you're going to do the homework. You're going to put the time in. We talk about LinkedIn and networking. That is going to be something where you have to carve out time and say, my networking, I need to grow my base. So every Saturday, I'm going to take an hour and I'm just going to try to network with people and see what comes back. I used to tell my team, go out and try to connect with at least 50 and see how many comes back, because it really is about networking. And there are a lot of great people out there that will share your information as you are out there networking. You want to also, again, can't stress it enough, demonstrate that you are tech savvy. Anything that you can add to your resume to show that is going to also take away what is considered ageism. There's a way that you can learn to profit from your passions. This is a great time in life, because this is something maybe that the job that you're looking for now, if you have been there, done that, and just really want to stay active and you're not ready to retire. I have an image up there where a gentleman is fixing a bicycle tire. Sometimes you can take your passion, because if you can have a good looking resume and maybe not all of the skills, but you've been able to transfer some of those skills that even through the read of your resume shows exciting, that passion is going to come through in that interview. And when you have people that have the same skill sets, an employer has to make a decision, and oftentimes that passion is what helps them to make a sound decision on who should come in and join their team. You want to stay focused on your target to combat being labeled as overqualified. Again, these are things that unless you are telling that to the employer, they will not be able to see it in a good resume. So there's no such thing as overqualified. It's how we craft our resume to show what skill sets we bring to that particular job that you're applying for. Again, you can show your enthusiasm to mentoring and reverse mentoring for younger workers. This could be some things that talk about when you get to that question of how you work well within a team, because there are a lot of things that we can gain experience from them, and likewise in how you show some enthusiasm to mentoring. You also want to reframe your conversation to emphasize their strengths, such as sound judgment, critical thinking, problem solving, work ethics, and leadership abilities. These are things that our younger generation, our millennials, just don't have yet. And it's because they haven't lived long enough. So this is something to be proud of, to be confident in, and mainly the biggest takeaway that we would like you to understand is to remain positive. There's a recent article that just came out that talked about when we get back post-COVID, there's not going to be a lot of training for a lot of companies. So they're going to be looking for that skilled workforce to come in and really hit the ground running. And that's where the mature workforce comes in. Again, my name is Roberta Hall, Regional Manager within The Door, and it is our honor to be here with you today and to present. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Paul Allen.
Well, thank you so much, Roberta, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Allen, and it is a pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to be sharing some resources with you today. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the American Job Centers, or one-stops, the CSEP program for seniors, technology training that's free online, virtual interview tips, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So let's jump right in. First thing I want to talk about is our one-stop American Job Centers. The One-Stop American Job Centers and its partners operate through a federal program called WIOA that was mentioned earlier. Now, this program stands for the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And it's basically the goal is to shrink the skills gap and help people obtain high quality careers, and including youth, seniors, and those with barriers to employment. We do this through career coaching, skills training, and financial assistance. And all of that's provided free by our one-stop partners. There are 19 workforce areas in the state of Georgia, as you can see on the map here on your screen, and they're all under the umbrella of WorkSource Georgia. So these 19 one-stop career centers throughout the state are completely free, and inside you'll have state-of-the-art computers, copy machines, fax machines, access to phone, everything you need career-wise. And so I highly recommend that you visit your local one-stop and speak to a career advisor or an operator like myself. In the next couple of slides, I'll show you how to find the local one-stop nearest to you. So our next resource is a job training program that is a paid program called CSEP. CSEP stands for the Senior Community Service Employment Program. So the program is basically a nonprofit organization will host a participant, in this case a senior. And the great thing is for them, it is free. There's no charge for this employer. CSEP will pay for the employer's salary. And on the other side, it's a free work experience and part-time for the senior, and they'll be gaining some useful skills. I know I had one CSEP worker that worked with me and did an excellent job, but needed a little bit of assistance getting more tech savvy. So the trade-off was I got this great free assistant, and then she got to learn on all the new bells and whistles with technology. And through the program, after about a month or two, the lady who worked with me was able to get full-time employment at a senior housing company. actually even got free housing as long as she provided part-time work as an office manager. So I've seen this program in action, and I highly recommend it. Now, there are two agencies throughout the state that provide this program. One is AARP, which was mentioned by Ms. Roberta Hall a moment ago, and the other one is Legacy Links. So on your screen, you'll see a screenshot from Legacy Links website where they talk all about the program and how you can get involved. Also, I'll drop in the chat a personal contact of mine, Salima Sabri, who's an assistant administrator with CSEP and does an excellent job of pairing agencies with participants. Also, now on your screen, you should see AARP's foundation website. And it's a similar program. They just operate in different areas throughout the state. Next, I want to show you that website I said that you could use to find your nearest one-stop. It's called careeronestop.org. If you see at the top here where it says Find Local Help, if you hover or click on that on the website, a box will appear where you can type in your zip code and your address, and it will pop up a map and show you the closest one-stop to your location. What I love about this site is not only does it help you find one-stops, but it has a beautiful toolkit. If you see here to the right, where it says toolkit at the top. Once you are on that website and you hover over toolkit, it will pop up interest inventories, which are assessments that you can take that will help you identify your skills and your interests, and then what careers you could look at that would apply to those. Also, it has resume samples on there. That's a great help to develop your resume and piggyback on the tips that Mr. Hall gave earlier. And so I definitely recommend that. And then it also has touches upon, different resources for your job search. So I recommend you go to careeronestop.org as well. This next website is a great one for people who are not quite tech savvy, but know that they need to be in order to participate in today's job market. So as you see on the screen, smartphones and tablets, they come with their own technologies that can be used for anything from sending an email to joining a social media like LinkedIn, or even participating in a Zoom interview via your phone. As you see at the bottom, they have free trainings and everything from how to use Microsoft Excel, and even some of your basic computer skills like typing skills, or like one of them I really like where you can click and drag on your mouse, and it has you click and drag an ice cream and you drop it onto an ice cream cone just to help you work with your functionality with the mouse. And so this is a great website. Again, I'm going to put it in the chat at the end of our presentation today, but it really is great because it has, customized trainings that are all free, and they do step-by-step tutorials where you can pause it and go back and that sort of thing. Next up, I want to mention a great online job portal by the Georgia Department of Labor. It's called Employ Georgia, and it can be found at employgeorgia.com. This is a screenshot of their website. Basically, the great thing about this is you can post your resume. It helps you do a step-by-step walkthrough of creating a resume. At the end, you can save that resume to your computer or to a flash drive, and then it saves it in its system. The beautiful thing is it then finds other job opportunities that employers have posted in the system and matches your skills and qualifications with those jobs, and it will send you an email alerting you to a job that you might be interested in. When you open that secure email, you're then able to apply with the click of a button, and that way you don't have to spend a whole lot of time filling out multiple applications. And again, it's Georgia Department of Labor's website, so it is very secure, and it helps you avoid some of those scams that we mentioned earlier. And now I want to just share briefly some virtual interview tips. I know that today's environment with COVID-19, a lot of interviews are going to be conducted online, and I just wanted to share with you some of the tips that I suggest. First, you want to test your technology beforehand. A virtual interview requires tools like a camera and a microphone on your computer and a software program usually to download, such as Zoom, GoToWebinar, Google Hangouts, or Microsoft Teams. So you want to, check those at least the day before your interview and make sure that you have, can communicate effectively, and you've downloaded and your connection is sustained a streaming of a video. And then 15 to 30 minutes before your interview, you want to check your internet connection and sign in using the link that the HR professional has given you. Now, moving on. In a virtual interview, you will wear professional attire. you should dress the same as you would in a face-to-face interview. And I believe that doing so not only makes you look professional, but it shows that you're excited about the opportunity, and it also makes you feel more prepared and more confident. When an interview takes place from a remote location like your home, it's best to, be formal like you would in an office. If you're unsure, business casual is always a good standard to follow. A great example outfit for men and women would be a button-down shirt with a blazer and slacks. Next, you want to limit distractions. The best place to take an interview in your home is a quiet location with few distractions. Choose a clean, professional-looking room, and so the interviewer can focus on you and not anything that's around you. If you don't have a dedicated space, you can use a guest bedroom, and you want to try to place your computer on a table rather than a couch or on your lap. Make sure to tell the people that you share a space with about the area that you're going to be using for the interview and the time of your interview, and that you need a quiet space that's going to be off limits during that time. Respectfully explain that during this time, it's best that the house stays quiet to limit distractions. And if possible, you might want to have a designated area for pets during these critical work hours. Next, you want to use professional body language. Because you're interviewing via phone or in a computer, it's kind of difficult to communicate body language like you would in person, but you want to sit up straight. You want to ensure that your camera is focused on your face and in the middle of the screen. In most interviews, in person, you would shake hands. So without the ability to do that, you're going to need to use these nonverbal cues with your body language to establish that relationship. So find ways to exude enthusiasm, smile, always make a confident eye contact. And then you want to build rapport with your interviewer. Again, I know it's challenging during a virtual interview, but you want to think about things that can connect you to your interviewer. For example, you may ask, how's it been going with these virtual interviews? Or, just have something in mind that will be a neutral topic to discuss and to learn more about your interviewer and have that authentic interview. And then lastly, you want to follow up with an email, typically within 24 hours, just letting them know, you appreciate the opportunity and express that you understand that you're a good fit for the company, and use, the typical things you would say to a hiring manager speaking with. You want to get their email address and their contact information prior to, that way you can do that follow-up interview. Now, I want to thank you all for attending today. I believe that now I'm going to turn it back over to our host, and we're going to have a Q&A section. Mr. Richard Core.
Great. Thank you, guys. That was a fantastic presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists for a really great presentation, and I'm sure the audience found it to be very informative as well. Due to some time constraints, we do have some questions, but due to some time constraints, we might not be able to get to all of them. But we would like to assure you that we're going to collect these questions and do our best to answer all of them post-webinar. All right, so the first question that I'm going to throw out is, should you include a photo on your resume? So maybe one of you guys can respond to that one.
Well, I would recommend not having a photo on a resume. Now, again, if you are an actor or an actress, or you work in any type of graphic design where you wanted to showcase some of those things, but for your standard resume, I would err on the side of caution and not include a photo with your resume.
Okay, great.
And if I'd like to share also, they're going to look on LinkedIn. So you definitely want to have that photo on your LinkedIn.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another question came in. Can I get a clear copy of the action words? I think what we'll do is we'll drop our email addresses in the chat box, and so you can reach out to us directly.
And Richard, real quick, I do have those. I have some templates in terms of chronological function resumes, and the template of those action verbs I can send to you, so you can send out to the participants. So I kind of have that already set up and ready to go.
Okay, perfect. And I also want you guys to know in the audience that the webinar will be posted to our at ATL Works website and the Empowerline website and the ARC website as well. We do have another question coming in. It says, do you find it a problem to have your photo on LinkedIn, but they see your resume and can guess what your age is?
Okay, I will take that. So seeing your photo is definitely not a problem. Your LinkedIn should mirror your resume. So when you are establishing your skills at the very top of LinkedIn, you're going to bring those things that you can bring to the table, and you do not have to list more than 10 to 15 years on LinkedIn as well. So there should not be a way for them to tell that if you mirror your LinkedIn to your up-to-date avoiding ageism resume.
Okay, great. The next question is, I think this one is for me. The Empowerline website is www.empowerline.org. One more question. Can you tell me again what resume to use if you have gaps in your work history?
Well, if you have significant gaps in your work history, I would recommend using a functional resume. So again, you can pick those soft skills and hard skills and highlight those in terms of management or sales, different skills like that, and really highlight that. And then you can put those your employment history at the bottom of the resume, particularly if there have been some gaps in there. But again, I would recommend a functional resume, and maybe Ms. Hall may have some additional thoughts on that as well.
Yes, I would also recommend with some filler for those gaps is to register with as many agencies as you can and try to take a lot of assessments. You can bring skill sets to the top of your resume, any type of courses you've taken, because it really is about a skill set that you're bringing to that particular job.
Okay. Perfect. There are a few more questions, but due to time constraints, we're going to try and get to those questions post webinar. So we're going to collate them and get back to you on those questions. And I want to thank you guys, our panel of experts. That was very, very good, a very, very informative presentation. And I want to thank you guys and also the audience listening in. I want to thank you guys for participating and watching our webinar. So we're gonna call it here. It's now 2:17. Thank you guys again, and I wish you all a great day.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Your dream job is calling. We're here to help you find it. Finding the right job or career can be difficult and stressful. WorkSource is here to make it easy. Our personalized, step-by-step process provides job seekers like you with the support and resources needed to get a great job. Our career resource centers offer all the equipment you need for things like printing and sharing resumes and cover letters, as well as quiet places to make those important calls. You'll participate in job readiness workshops where you'll learn how to market yourself. An advisor will help guide you to find the right career move. And you'll have support from the entire WorkSource team throughout the whole process. Let's say you're looking for a career as a medical technician. You may need money for training, supplies, and assistance for childcare and transportation. WorkSource is here to help. Or you may want to become a driver. You'll need to learn to drive a big rig and get your commercial driver's license. Georgia has many occupations that need great workers, and WorkSource's dedicated career counselors can help you find the one that's right for you. The bottom line is that our first priority is your success. WorkSource was designed to assess your skills, help with training, and find a job that fits you. All at no cost to you. WorkSource is a federally funded program. WorkSource, the help you need to get the job you want.